Let me begin with a confession. For most of my early career, I thought education is something delivered in a package. A syllabus, textbooks, and the result. Until one moment shattered that illusion. I was working for developing innovative solutions for a transport company. But back in my hometown, a teacher still used a chalk stick to explain what a wheel does. I had graduated from Rajasthan's top and oldest engineering college, climbed all the ladders I was told to climb. But one question resurfacing my mind: what about your town, your village, your people? That was a time when I realized while I was helping build for the future, back home, the foundation was still fragile. So, me and my wife packed up our lives, left behind the city comforts, and returned to Raisinghnagar, a very small town bordering Pakistan and Punjab. Not just to open a school, but to build something that would outlive us, a school with a soul. When I returned, I found that the problem isn't that the students aren't learning. The deeper problem was the entire ecosystem was struck. Let me explain. You can't build a thinking generation with teachers who are only taught to memorize, not analyze. You can't expect innovation when the curriculum punishes the curiosity. A child can't grow confidence if parents keep comparing them with others. So, I flipped the question. Instead of asking, why aren't students learning? I started asking, who else need to learn so that the child can? And that one thing changed everything. My work is rooted in Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence, a powerful idea that reminds us not all students learn the same way. I discovered that most of the schools rewards only two kinds of intelligence. One is verbal, other is written. What happens to the rest? What about the boy whose drag flick is unstoppable on a hockey field, but grammar is very tough for him? What about the girl who sees perfect symmetry in a painting long before she sees in her maths textbook? What about the boy who can build a working model of a machine with ease, but sentence structure is a mystery? So with this theory as the foundation, I designed a curriculum. Not around marks, but around meaning. I drew inspiration from the book Toto Chan, a little girl at the window, for creating thoughtful ideas for behavior development and overall development of the child, not just course. Let me share 3 pillars of my approach. Each one can be implemented without extra funding. Just a mindset shift. First pillar, train the teachers. Don't blame them. I developed systems and processes for classroom management and inculcating discipline within children, ensuring that no teacher need to shout or punish any student. Let me share one of my system. If the classroom becomes noisy, the teacher raises her hand and begins a countdown without saving any word, no single word. She will count till 5. And at the end of countdown, if the class doesn't settle down, the teacher will mark a tick on the behavior chart. Note, and after 3 ticks, one fun activity is cancelled. Not as a punishment, as a natural consequence. These kind of systems and processes help children learn self-discipline and responsibility within a calm and peaceful environment. Because when the teachers are developed, classroom transforms. Second important pillar, involve the parents, not just inform them. In most of the towns and villages, parents are farmers, small shopkeepers, or very small business owners. They don't understand much about modern teaching methods, or even can check whether the child has completed a homework or not. They weren't disinterested, they were disempowered. So I asked myself, how can I involve them? How can I make them my strength? I began holding regular orientation programs, PTMs which were compulsory to attend, making monthly review calls personally, and even provided a personal number, dedicated number for home support so that the parent can contact. I focused on building bridge between school and home. Slowly I saw the results. Parents started reviewing homework. Some of them even started learning along their children. Because I believe when parents started learning, their home transformed into their second classroom. And reinforcements started happening naturally. A third most important pillar. I have researched that learning doesn't begin with a question. Begins with an answer. It begins with the question. That's why I set up Curiosity Lab on day 1. Just to explain students why it is important to ask why. I took initiative to celebrate each subject in its own light through Science Week, Maths Week, English Week, just to spark curiosity about the subject. I introduced project-based learning so that everything can be learned practically, not just rote method. I moved beyond classrooms, transformed classrooms into living labs, drew compasses on the ground to teach directions, took them to farms and fields, factories, not just the regular field visit, just as their classroom program. These weren't activities, they were sparks. Once the curiosity is lit, it spreads like wildfire. Students began asking questions. They started challenging what they saw. They looked for their own answers. Because true learning isn't remembered, it's felt. In Colombia, a model called Escuela Nueva revolutionized rural learning. Despite poverty and remoteness, their students started outperforming urban peers. Not because of funding, but because of design rooted in empathy. They didn't import solutions, they designed it for their soil, just like I did. The world is racing ahead of AI, robotics, Industry 4. But 70% of our children are still learning in rural India, often disconnected from opportunity. We cannot build future-ready nation if our rural children are left behind. But the truth is, rural education isn't our burden. It's our greatest opportunity. If we can build systems which work here in tough conditions with very limited resources, we can build systems that will work anywhere in this world. A great school doesn't begin with a smart classroom. It begins with smart ecosystem, where teachers are learners, parents are partners, and curiosity is celebrated. I didn't return home to just open a school. I returned to spark a movement. And today I invite every teacher, educator, policymaker, dreamer listening. Don't just build a school. Build stronger ecosystems. Because when the soil is healthy, the roots don't need to rescue, they rise. Thank you.